John, you were company commander of Charlie Company, and would you talk to us about that period of time, the activities in the period of time from 0640 that morning until the time that you were wounded and Lieutenant Cook took over the company?
Sure.
The sweep and the withdrawal and that sort of thing.
I would like to start off by saying this guy here, man, we go back a long way. When he was new boots on the ground, the FNG, I was the guy that broke him in. And I don't remember now if you asked me if I wanted to command the Charlie Company, you told me to take it, probably the latter. But I had no officers, and I asked Colonel Anderson, I said, can I have Cook? He said, oh, he said, I'll leave that up to you and Cook. Well, Cook was in the S1 shop, and I walked in. I said, Art, you ready to go to work? He said, what are you going to do? Or what am I going to do? I said, Colonel just gave me command of Charlie Company, and I need you to go with me. And he said, and I'll never forget it, he said, John, I would follow you to hell. And he told me later, I didn't realize you were actually going to take me there.
That's neat.
But we really did. I would like to say one thing today, though, before I get started. It is an honor to be in the presence of two general-grade officers, and both of them are Bobcats. This one right here, everybody knows. Lieutenant General Guy LeBeau back here, a lot of you probably don't know, when we lost Captain Akos Zackley, he took command of Alpha Company, and then he replaced Colonel Wood as the S3. And I want to say to you something I've never told you too. For years and years and years, I wondered why a guy that I respected as much as I do you would send me out looking for a damn reinforced regiment. So last year, I was talking to Colonel Wood, and I said, was my job that day to go out and find a regiment? He said, absolutely not. Our mission that day was to be on the left flank of the recon platoon, the crypt platoon, and the 240 Mike Mikes. That was our mission that day. We broke the wire about 6:40. I won't go through this in detail or we'll be here all day. But we broke the wire about 6:40, and if you remember when you cross the creek, it's about 2 clicks out to where 239 turns left. Then it's about 2 clicks on down the road where it turns back to the right, and that's where we went south right straight into the woods. About 0823, we had 3 dogs with us that day. I don't remember ever working with dogs before. But we also had a MP lieutenant. And he came back and he said, the dogs are alerting to a large force. And I said, could that possibly be that village? He said, yes, it could possibly be the village and the people in the village. So to be safe, and the one thing that your report doesn't say, is that we started doglegging a lot that day to keep from getting sucked into anything. And I think it was about 9:13 that we spotted, 8:23 is when we spotted the 2 guys. I don't know if they were in pajamas or what they were in. Colonel Wood was in the 23, and he flew overhead and couldn't see anything. I think it was about 9:13 that we found a mine, blew it in place. Still hadn't made any contact. I think the first round, sniper round fired, which I think killed Sergeant Lang, was about 10 minutes after 11. To this day, I don't really know why Sergeant Lang was so far out front, but that was just Sergeant Lang. You know, he was one of the best platoon leaders. You'll have to agree that we ever had. I don't care if he was an NCO. He was a good man. And then once the firing started, it got just a little bit heavier and a little bit heavier. And then it wasn't 5 minutes until it was just unbelievable. And Art and I have talked about this a bunch. Where we were in the rubber, there was brush about that high, At any given time, you could look straight down and that brace was just shaking from automatic weapon fire. How in the world we all got out of there without having 100% casualties, I will never know. But it got heavier and heavier and heavier, and then I found out that they were trying to come around our left flank, they were trying to come around our right flank, and I backed the company up about 150 yards for two reasons. Number one, they were trying to cut us off, and number two, that automatic weapon RPG fire. And I've heard mortars. You found a mortar pit, didn't you?
I did.
And they were just throwing everything else they had. And the troops were telling me, hey, they're moving from tree to tree. My driver came back, Grim. I can't believe I just thought of his name. Grim came back and he said, Charlie 6, we got to get out of here. He said, there's a goop behind every tree. And he said, they're just trying to shut us off on the left and on the right. So we moved back another 150 yards. Now, I don't remember if I got wounded after that second move or after we'd made the third one. I don't know.
I only made one move back, so it would have been after the third one.
It would have been after the third one, okay.
We moved back and stopped, and we kept fighting. When I had to do the final move, we moved all the way back.
Okay.
Okay, so that was yours.
All right. My track got hit with an RPG-7. I didn't know for a long time it was 7, but Art told me, I think in Hagerstown, that the way it's down there wasn't any doubt in his mind it was 7. And it killed both of my RTOs, killed my 4-deuce mortar FO. I don't think that's the one that got Steve Rainey, my artillery FO. A lot of people have asked me, would I do anything any different? And I really don't think I would have. And the one thing about the Ben Cui that still gives me a heartburn to this day, and General and I have discussed it, the artillery commander took it up on himself to check fire. That is a decision that should always be left to the commander on the ground. 200 yards for artillery, I don't think is too close, but they seem to think it was. And they shut it off, and I understand later they did start firing again, but it would have been after I got wounded. But that's just a brief synopsis of what took place, and some of these guys can tell you a lot more. And I'm so proud of all my guys in the Ben Cui. They're just did a fantastic job.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions at this point or any perspectives that anybody would like to interject? Yeah, Bob? And Bob, there's a little mic behind you.
Yeah, I'd like to dwell just a bit on Recon and Crip and the Twin 40s. Recon and Crip and the Twin 40s were on the road, Charlie Company to the left of them. When Charlie Company got hit and started having to withdraw, Recon and Crip were in a position to fire into the flank of the attacking force in an echelon across their front with 10 caliber 50s, a 106 recoilless rifle, 2 twin 40s, and small arms. And they kept that fire up for a significant period of time until it was obvious that they were going to get flanked on the right. And Gary Martin was then told to get back out of there. So he brought Recon back then to the east. But without them on that flank, I think you'd have been overrun on the right.
Oh, no doubt.
On the left, where they were coming around there, we were finally able to get a couple of gunships. And we put the gunships over, fire from the gunships on Charlie Company's left to try to protect that flank as best we could. I was in the air at that time, and then Andy grabbed his chopper and he went in the air just shortly thereafter. I had the artillery FO with me. He was the one who was trying to get the artillery turned back on after it had been check fired because the artillery thought they were shooting on top of Charlie Company because of a faulty radio communication. And that's why they stopped. And then Rainey was hit, and then we couldn't get him to unsay what he said because he wasn't functional.
Good. So that brings us up to about 11:50. Is there anybody else back in this area? Okay. about
Another
11
thing
Oh,
that I just thought of
okay.
too, and I don't remember if Bob told me or I read it someplace, but while Recon and everybody was out there on 239, they saw an estimated company coming across an open area to cut off our rear. And they just chopped them to pieces. In fact, I think they took 50 body count, I read.
It would have to have been at least that.
Yeah, I think
Right.
it was 50. So if they hadn't have got them, we'd have been in trouble again.